Are you wondering what to do when you're taking B12 and you still come up deficient? Maybe you're taking pills that you swallow under your tongue, injections. My name's Dr. Terranella, and in this video, we're going to look at this question, what to do when you're taking B12, but you still come up deficient. Maybe it's a blood test or some other indicator of B12 deficiency. Again, my name's Dr. Terranella, and if you're new to this channel, just want you to know that I'm making these videos to go beyond the basics of your health, whether it's a confusing blood test, symptom diagnosis, or confusing things like this question, and make these videos to help you get a better understanding of what's going on with your body and how to optimize things. So if you like this kind of information on nutrition, health, hormone optimization, etc., click on the like button and don't forget to subscribe to the channel to get more videos like this one. Now for a quick disclaimer, the information contained in this video is for informational purposes only. It's not intended as treatment for any medical condition or a substitute for seeing an actual doctor or medical professional. It should be used as an educational guide to deepen your understanding of your own health and treatment success. If medical attention is needed, don't delay in seeking that attention. All right, let's check out this question, what to do when you're taking B12 but still deficient. So in this video, we're going to look at what to do when you're taking B12, but you're still deficient. So this question requires us to break down this into kind of two chunks. One is what's meant by taking B12, and the other is what's meant by deficient. So let's look at the question of deficiency first, since I think that'll help frame the whole question and a little more straightforward to look at. We can look at deficiency as a serum B12 test being below the reference range or even the low end of the reference range. You can also look at deficiency as an elevation in methylmalonic acid, either in the serum or the urine. Now, there are other instances where I might say someone is deficient outside of what I've just laid out here, but those are the simple, straightforward ways to define deficiency. So without going into too much nuance in this video, we'll just keep it at that. So let's say you're taking a B12 injection once a month and the test is still showing that you're low. And so you're taking the B12, but you're still showing deficient in your blood test. That typically means what you would expect it to mean, that you're not taking enough B12. Sometimes you just haven't been taking it long enough in order for the results to show up in the blood test. So let me explain this a little bit more. So it's going to take a certain amount of time for your blood levels and tissue levels to build up to a certain level to where it's actually going to show up on the test. And you may want to speed up this process by taking your injections or your form of B12 more frequently or at a higher dose. Now, keep in mind, most of the B12 that you inject is going to get excreted through the urine within a couple of days of taking that vitamin. Some vitamin B12 is stored in the liver, but only small amounts at a time. As the liver storage and tissue levels of vitamin B12 go up, the serum levels are gradually going to go up as well. And with that, the corresponding methylmalonic acid will also trend down. Once your body gets fully saturated with the B12, meaning that your liver storage is kind of topped off, maxed out, and your tissue levels are also adequate or abundant, that's when you're going to start to see normalization of the lab values. Now, keep in mind, if you test directly or immediately after taking a shot, like within a few days, you are going to see those levels are going to be higher than if you wait a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. People that already have decent B12 levels and take a shot are going to see those levels stay elevated for much longer than someone that's really, really low. So if you're doing a B12 shot once a month and you're still deficient in month 2, well, you haven't really taken that many shots, and depends where you're starting from. You may just need to, again, do it more frequently, increase the dose of the vitamin B12 and things like that. The same kind of process is happening for oral administration in terms of some of it being excreted from the urine, some of it being stored in the liver, and it's generally going to take much longer when you're taking oral for those levels to come up. The difference with the oral B12 is that you may not actually be absorbing any of it. So none of it's going to the liver, none of it's going into your tissues if you're not absorbing the B12. This is because B12 is generally a bit harder than most vitamins to get into your blood. And that's because it requires a special binding protein called intrinsic factor in order for it to get carried through the intestines into your blood. Some people don't make much intrinsic factor, or they're producing antibodies that attack that intrinsic factor which means you don't end up with much or any B12 getting into your blood from the food that you're eating. So if you're someone that's already consuming a fair amount of animal protein that has abundant B12 in it, and like chicken, beef, things like that, or if you're taking it by mouth and you still come up deficient, it's very likely that something's going on with your absorption. Maybe you do have pernicious anemia. Maybe you have something else going on with your intrinsic factor or just a general digestive issue. You really have to get a baseline and then recheck it to see if it's changing. But people that are taking B12, either in the form of food or an actual supplement, and their levels aren't changing, that's usually a problem with your intrinsic factor. Now, in this case, and in the case you don't want to swallow the B12 in general, you can take a sublingual B12 and you will get some absorption under your tongue. There's a capillary system there that does allow for absorption without using that intrinsic factor. It's just going to take much longer for those B12 levels to come up. And if you're already starting really, really low, you're going to want to go to injections to build those levels up quicker, and you might be able to maintain with the sublingual version. I'll put a link to the type of sublingual B12 that we use and trust in the description if you want to check that out. Now, of course, there's all kinds of different scenarios that can come up with this question, what to do when you're taking B12 but still deficient. I tried to cover some of the more obvious examples here, but if you do have questions about this, drop it in the comment section. There's definitely other scenarios I can think of where people are taking B12 and they're still coming up deficient. Maybe we'll cover those in a separate video. Let me know what you think about this. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.